we can salvage and build the country.
I see. You see, the next president. You're very sure of that?
I'm very confident about that.
Well, we'll wait for the elections. But Mr. George Isi is also in the studios with us. He's a member of the National Communications team for the NPP. He's also the Director of Communications at the National Disaster Management Organization, NATMO. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning,
How you doing?
Ella. I'm good.
Good to see you.
It's always good to be on your platform.
I like this look,
Yeah.
Indian look.
Yeah.
Are you trying to communicate something?
Namaste.
Hey, you are leaving us. So when people are trying to get Dutch passports, you are trying to get what? Indian passports. But I hope you've had a good week, by the way.
Yeah.
All right.
Let me say good morning to my colleagues here and our viewers. The Director of Communications for the MPP. Good morning, Richard. My boss. And the DMB fever is all over the Ashanti region. That's our stronghold. That is the response by the Ashanti people is so massive and encouraging. The elephant is alive and kicking in his stronghold. Lawyer was praying for something contra. Let's say.
Oh, how do you know that?
Lawyer, you see, if you were to take a blade and cut it, you see.
It's still MPP collecting there.
It's there.
So he's left physically, but spiritually he's still there.
My blood is very yellow.
His blood is yellow now. He's a butterfly, he's not an elephant.
He's an elephant. Pretending to be a butterfly.
Oh.
Yeah, so good morning to His Excellency, the Vice President and leader of the Solid, message solid. And if you read, Chiefs and Co are making very good comments, and I think it's forward-looking. Let's compare election 2024. It's going to be a race that everybody will look up to, and ultimately, Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia will be the victor and will form the next government in 2025.
I see.
Inshallah.
On this table alone, we have 3 presidents because everybody is very optimistic that their candidates will win.
It's obvious.
Let's leave that to our viewers and to the rest of Ghanaians because they will
obviousness.
vote. I see. Interesting. But let's get into our conversation now, and we'll start up with the first topic. So, former President John Dramani Mahama has been speaking, and he referenced, the current administration, indicating that they failed in the fight against corruption. In fact, he says that compared to the NDC, they've done better, and they intend to even do better if they should come into office come December 2024. And the President of the Republic, Nana Addo Akuffo Addo, has been responding to this statement where he says that, he does not take kindly to the reference that he is a clearing agent. In actual fact, he will not skip due process to fight corruption. Let's listen to both sides. First of all, let's listen to former President John Dramani Mahama, who made the statement, I think, the day before, and then the President yesterday, as they were launching the new building that's supposed to house the Attorney General's office, also responded to that statement. Listen.
I'm sure we are all aware of the statement by the former president and perennial NDC presidential candidate, John Dramani Mahama, stigmatizing me as a clearing agent. Because for him, mere allegation without more is enough to merit condemnation of an accused public official, especially one of my administration. For my part, and let me state it again for the record, I will not set aside due process and the rules of natural justice on the altar of the fight against corruption, no matter how much opprobrium this position incurs for me.
So that's President Akuffo Addo. But let's go back now to what former President John Dramani Mahama said, which resulted in this response.
In the fight against corruption, the NDC has a better record in terms of regime accountability. The NPP has proven in government that it is always reluctant to pursue their own, despite the swelling stench of corruption around the administration. All Ghanaians have received so far is lip service in the fight against corruption. As I said in Ho last year, and I quote, "It does not take bravery to prosecute one's political opponent. The true test in the fight against corruption is holding your own people accountable when they go wrong." And so far, the president has failed this test. Most appallingly, The president has become the clearinghouse for clearing his appointees accused of corruption. He has on several occasions cleared his ministers and appointees when allegations of corruption have been made against them. Indeed, it was a very low day for Ghana when the president peddled a falsehood on a panel at the recent African Investment Forum that all allegations of corruption made against people in his administration have been investigated and cleared by independent investigative bodies.
All right, so that is former President John Dramani Mahama. Mr. George AC, I'll come to you first, but I get that the president is responding to this statement that's been made by the former president. But if you look at polls that have been conducted and studies that have been conducted, as far back as even 2018, a CDD report, it said that majority of Ghanaians saw government officials as corrupt. Now, you look at the Afrobarometer report, this is 2019, and it's indicated that about 50% of Ghanaians felt that some officials in the president's office were corrupt, whereas 33% said all of them were corrupt. But you move on to another study that was done much later in 2022 by Afrobarometer. And now the office of the presidency moved to the second position, when in fact 55% of the people who were researched indicated that they believe most or all of the people in the office of the presidency are corrupt. Now, if the president says that he does not accept the tag as the clearing agent because he's referred all issues relating to corruption to the independent institutions, yet there's this perception there that, you know, the presidency is corrupt, then how do we juxtapose that to what the president is saying?
That's why it is perception. It is perception. Okay? The corruption perception index, that is how it is measured. So how people perceive things that happen. Okay? It is not the best in the political arena, right? But it is perception measured. If you want to prove that somebody is really corrupt, you take to courts. Okay? And you adduce evidence. And the court would determine, based on the evidence adduced, whether the person is indeed culpable and then secure conviction. These things have been done.
But perception is based on your action or inaction.
Yes.
And so if a number of Ghanaians think that you're corrupt, that means that you're not doing what you have to do to fight corruption.
Oh, yes, it happened there. Why? Some people have done something wrong, and so that perception begins to form. Issue of Wache Dakun with a spurious allegation against him that he bribed members of parliament. You know, openly, we witnessed the proceedings on national television. What happened? There was nothing to indict him that he indeed gave bribe to members of parliament.
The Boss contaminated fuel scandal, is that what you're referring to?
Wache Dakun, I moved to Wache Dakun.
Okay.
The former Minister for Energy. Okay, these was publicly, looked at. Recently, the Fourth Estate did some investigations, SML, you remember. It was sent to KPMG to investigate. They did investigations where they thought things did not go right. You know, they indicated that. The president issued a statement on that, okay, and said what ought to be done properly ought to be done. But having studied everything, he thinks if the GRA wants them to continue, fine. But there are some other areas that he thinks should be looked at. That is, something that is done. And so if you accuse Abu Jinapo, his deputy chief of staff, I call him the president's son. Okay, there were allegations, and Asenso Boachi, Minister for Roads. Okay, the president referred it to the CID to investigate. Investigations were done. Okay, and so once investigations are done, and they were cleared, I don't see why you say, hey, that is because you've alleged. It is conclusively that they have committed a crime. That's what the president is saying that, though. The president is a distinguished lawyer, okay? A human rights lawyer. And he's worked all his life to defend and protect the law. And so why will it be different when he becomes president? And an allegation is made against George AC or Basintali. And then the president jumps and says he's guilty. Okay, the lawyers have something they call the
say
authorized
that,
party,
George.
right? Yes.
He doesn't have to say
Yes.
that, but if you look at sometimes the statements that he makes,
Like-
and I'll give you an example.
Yes.
Madame Cecilia Dapa,
Yes.
and the letter that he put out,
Yes.
ensuring that he had confidence that she was
Yes.
going to come out
Yes.
victorious in all of
Yes.
this. I mean, you should allow the law to take its course.
He never
But if you
interfered
make
with the law.
He doesn't have to interfere directly.
never did.
But if you release a statement and you say that, I believe that eventually you'll come out victorious,
Bella.
are you not stampeding
No.
indirectly
No.
the rule of law?
Are you saying the president appointed people he didn't have trust and confidence in to position to represent him as ministers of state? No. He has absolute confidence in them. And so until you establish their guilt or otherwise, he must have that trust in them. That's why he's saying, I appointed you as my minister. And every minister is working at the behest of the president, okay? It's as good as the president being there, true or false. And so he has that trust in the appointee.
But trust can be broken.
But after everything, what is the result? Has the president been vindicated?
In which case exactly?
Cecilia, you mentioned Cecilia.
Has she been
Dapa.
vindicated?
No. Has the
No, but the case has not been fully.
So
tried.
why has
As
it not been
stands now,
fully?
the last time
Because
we went
the
to Iyoko,
OSP referred to Iyoko.
And what did
why is
Madam
the case
Tiwa
now?
say?
They released, they froze her accounts, and later the OSP released everything, true or false. You get it? You don't just conclude because somebody has a certain amount of money at home, it is stolen money. No.
But
You must
Iyoko
prove
is not
that
looking to
indeed-
go into this because per the advice that she said she got from the Attorney General, there was no need to go into this matter and investigate.
No,
and
so
that's
the
where
OSP
many people are asking
did
questions.
a collaborative work with the FBI. What is that report? Have they forwarded that report to Iyoko and the Attorney General? Okay, that's been the argument. So if you have a basis to further, engage in the case, release it to the appropriate authority. EOC will need the initial investigations done by FBI and OSP so they can further, the matter. That's important. And then seek advice from the AG to go and prosecute the matter because they've been able to establish a prima facie against Cecilia Dapa that indeed the monies found in her house were corruptly acquired. You get it? Elsewhere, there are some countries where if you're holding $10,000 and cool, you must declare, right? So what is it with us? That's why I was happy when OSP was set up, so that, people can account for monies gotten. We seem to glorify and dignify people who have money without knowing their sources and co. And that is part of the reason for the OSP. They can go in if they see that you're living a lifestyle and co. that is not commensurate with your income source and co.
Exactly.
Okay, and this is meant to put state officers and public officials on their toes. It's very important. But then there ought to be a basis to establish that indeed George AEC got this money illegally.
Which is why, shouldn't the president
Yes.
have taken personal interest in Madame Cecilia Dapa's case, for example? And she's not the only one that he's said to have
You want it to be said that the president is interfering
No, what I mean is,
in the judicial process?
Should he not ensure that the institutions that are supposed to investigate it investigate to the latter?
Yes.
Is he not supposed to ensure
Yes,
that?
that's why he's giving resources to the institutions to do their work.
But
he's
we don't
not
seem
supposed
to
to
see that
interfere.
happening.
He's not supposed to interfere. You remember, let me give you a case in point. Ken Ofori-Attah's issue, the
Which of them? They've been-
Ejapa issues, right?
When he was referred to as the mother serpent of
when
corruption.
Martin Amidu was to, waded into the matter and co. The president just made a comment that from all he's reading, because Martin gave him the report, all he's reading, he's not seen where the finance minister's comments appeared. Why did he not give him the opportunity to respond to what he's raised? That became a matter. That the president was interfering in the process. True or false? Because he didn't ask you to bring it to him. You decided to give him the report. He went through and said, as a lawyer, the accused person must have a day, okay, in court or whatever committee work you're doing. But I've seen you've made comments, and I've not seen any comment from the finance minister in the report.
Which is why he was being prevented from bringing it out, because they wanted to hear from the finance minister first?
No, he made his comment and gave it back to the OSP then, Martin Amidu. And Martin decided to put it in the public
but
that
Martin Amidu
the
had
president is
mentioned-
interfering.
Yes,
which
but
is not
Martin
factual.
Amidu had mentioned
Yes.
that when he did his corruption risk assessment,
Yes, the risk assessment,
report,
yes.
right, he was told to bring it to the Office of the Presidency first.
No.
And what I'm trying to say is, without even hearing from the finance minister, they were trying to prevent him from putting that out because they wanted to hear from the finance minister first.
No, the president made his comment that you've not spoken to a key person in the whole thing. Why? You get it? That is not justice. That's not a fair process. There's a lawyer here. He will tell me whether I'm not being truthful to the process. That's what. And when the president did that, the whole Ghana was up in arms that the president was interfering. And so I disagree that the president must show interest, interfere. No. You are doing your work. One of his appointees is being accused, is on the chopping board. He said, I have confidence in her. If the president didn't have confidence in the first place, he wouldn't have even appointed that person. So that is another matter. Now, when it goes and the work done indicts her and she's found guilty, then the president will also get to know that, oh, okay, I had trust in you, but unfortunately, you've betrayed my trust. Okay? That will not stop the courts from doing, or the investigative bodies from doing their work. So that is key. Okay, we need to get that on the record. And the former president, yes, the president did say, the former president says he's a clearing agent. And he says he's not being a clearing agent. He's referred all matters to the bodies, appropriate bodies, and they've done their works. Okay? And so why would you say he's a clearing agent?
So you are satisfied?
And he believes in due process. And it will be surprising that a lawyer of his stature and caliber will not believe in due process. Okay? So let the due process go through. One, there are some that investigations have been done. I'm not happy that the reports were not put in the public domain.
Like?
The key one is my good friend and brother Pius Endam Hajide's Australian saga. I thought that report should be in the public because he's a nice guy, and when he goes out, that tag is on him that he's done something wrong.
So why do you think the report was never put out?
I don't know, but I wish it were put in the public domain.
Could your government be covering something?
No, I don't think so. But recently, when SML, this thing, people called for the report to be made public.
It took a while before the president released it.
No, there's a constitutional...
It took a while, George.
Yes, but the president is clothed with the constitutional authority to decide to either release or not. It is a constitutional matter. But he's decided to waive that and put the report in the public domain. My good friend, Krachi brother, Manasseh Azuri, he was pushing. When it was finally done, he was happy. But though he had some reservations, now they've gone through the report and and they got to make I think that is good. And I prayed for the Australian saga issue to also be made public.
So it has not been made public.
Yes.
I mean, but we heard the president say on a public platform that he's heard that Honorable Pius Hajide had been cleared, and so he was hoping that the report would come out. Then eventually we heard that he had reappointed him as Deputy Minister for Information.
Once he's cleared,
but the question is, if that report was not out for us all to see, and yet the president went ahead to even appoint him again as Deputy Information Minister, what was it that they were covering? Could the president have not waited for that report to come up before going ahead to appoint him?
Why is the report... No, the president is closed with the report. He has the details of the report.
But we don't have it. So how do we know that report really
that's what I'm saying.
him?
That's what I'm saying, that in the OSP laws and he's closed with that discretionary authority to make some things, because, you see, in the report process, opinions and others are expressed. And some opinions may be misconstrued to mean other things. And so that's why it's that. But I am saying, I think that report, Australian saga, should be made public. I'm happy the SML is being made public. The last one, I have said that the former president has the right to say official accountability in government and all that. Fine. This service and that's what I said initially, their perception.
For you, their perception.
Yes,
so it doesn't hold water?
No, it holds. It informs decision, public opinions and others, right? But the proof of the pudding is in the eating. So go to court and secure. This government, there are people in President Mahama's administration that have been prosecuted and convictions secured.
But how many convictions have you secured under your government?
But we did those prosecutions. Okay.
of your own officials?
No,
not of
they've
NDC
gone into
officials?
committees and bring the evidence. If you bring
I
the
see.
evidence, they'll
Okay.
be prosecuted.
Counsel,
That's it.
Counsel, I mean, where do you stand on this?
CIDs worked and nothing was there for John Abu Jinapo.
Yeah, so you see, yesterday when you listen intently on what the president
But I'm
said,
excited about the law house. That's go on, sorry.
as in his reference of due process in his duty to fight or obligation to fight corruption. I think you need to scratch beyond the surface to really understand the extent of the failure of this president in the fight against corruption. Now, he himself has brought up due process. And then for me, one of the critical failures of this president in the fight against corruption is in the failure to follow due process to prevent to prevent corruption in the first place. Last week we were just speaking about the 5G issue, and one of the key issues that came up was the lack of the following procedure and due process. Because one of the essence of the Procurement Act and then the private-public partnership act, as in the processes that must be gone through before contracts are granted under these laws, is to help prevent incidents of corruption. Because in the battle against corruption, the focus shouldn't just be what happens after corruption has been done, but how are you faithful or loyal, or how do you regard processes that have been put in place by law to ensure that incidences of corruption are reduced to the barest minimum. And I think one of the biggest criticisms against the president is the extent to which they've deployed sole sourcing in procurement issues, and evidence of same is in the 5G issue. Also, another way of looking at this is what is the extent of the impact of the president in strengthening institutions that are meant to fight corruption. I listened to my brother making reference to the CID clearing the two deputy chief of staff. But then the issue is how, under this presidency, how has the police service been strengthened to fight corruption? Especially where, if there's something that is clear and which is worrying, is the extent to which the police has been weakened to the extent that the executive seems to be remote controlling the police. And I can give you a number of examples. I think about last month, we had news of the Ashanti Regional Minister having the cockroach audacity to order the police to arrest a manager of ECG only because lights in K Pole had been put off.
Yeah.
Then for me, the question is, what authority does the regional minister have to attempt to arrest the police, the ECG, as in?
Yeah.
Two, another case in point is the transport minister also ordering the police to arrest certain members of the GPRTU only because they have dared to charge fares other than what he felt they had agreed with the GPRTU. And then what is even worrying is a statement the interior minister made that they were going to give about 30 slots each to members, parliamentary candidates of the MPP. You see, the point here is the police institution has been weakened by how people are recruited into them, into them. Because right now the impression being given is, or the belief is that people are being appointed into the police not on the basis of merit, but on their party coloring. Now what does is that it weakens that institution. It reduces the police to a body as in, that is being remote controlled by the president. So then, yes, because the police has been filled with party apparatchiks, people can be subjected to the police, and we won't get justice because they are partisan people in the police. You made a very fantastic point, and I'm surprised my brother didn't see the point you were making. See, when the person charged with the close to the power to protect the public purse makes prejudicial statements to the extent that I know you'll be exonerated.
Yeah.
You understand? Weakening the resolve of institutions that have been tasked with fighting corruption. Because, you see, when you're talking about anti-money laundering issues, It just does not bother on you proving a crime. But if you have money that you cannot justify how you came about that money, you understand? In terms of we knowing how much you earn, then you first quelling within and then we have issues where institutions who are close with powers are refusing to investigate you. And then the question is, are they pulling back because of the statement the president made? Also, we've heard the president's statement on a public or a conflict of interest issue, which for intents and purposes also borders on corruption. Because where people attempt to purchase public property, you understand, in breach of their obligation to consider the public trust or public of interest, then it borders on corruption too.
Yeah.
For example, issue.
Yeah.
Because if you're a public official, you should not even attempt, because of the public trust that's created on you, because of the obligation under our constitution, not to place yourself in a position of conflict of interest. Now, where that is being breached, and the person who promised us that I'm going to protect the public purse, because to protect the public purse also means that you are going to ensure that people you put in public position do not use those positions to take property that belongs to all of us.
And he has made that statement.
And then he made, and his response was so disappointing. So for me, the president has failed monumentally in his battle against corruption. And we should not be hoodwinked into that claim of respect for due process. In fact, what this statement does is to bring into sharp focus what has been the president's loyalty or fidelity to protecting and defending the constitution of this country. Because if the president really is committed to that battle, then immediately where people he's giving his powers to, like the interior minister, make statements which suggest that they are prepared or they are going to use those powers adverse to the purpose for which those powers were granted them. Because we should understand that to say that you are going to defend the constitution, to take a vow that you are going to defend the constitution, also means that you are taking a vow to protect and defend the purpose of the constitution.
But you remember the minister had responded to this claim by the minority about the list that they were going to do and giving 30 slots to every MP, and he said that in actual fact they are not even given the criteria in terms of how to select people into the military or the Ghana Police Service, and that they were rather looking at how to even bring those who had applied earlier and didn't qualify back to see if any of them were interested, and then they can select from there. That's the farthest he went. But he said he was going to put out a list of, that as well, and that never happened.
It's very unfortunate. You understand? And for me, it's very unfortunate, that statement, the whole purpose and essence of that statement, what that statement does to the trust, our perception about governance. Because see, in governance, perception is everything. Because you need the people's support to grant or to give effective governance. So when the people lose confidence in your ability to give proper governance, then there's a problem. Then there can be chaos because the people will not subject or will not be faithful to the governance that you are granting them. So that I'm saying that if a person that the president has given the powers that we give him for the purpose of protecting our liberties, is acting or is using those powers adverse to the reason why we give you those powers, then the president, you have a duty to sack the person. Because we just didn't give you the president what's called powers for granting powers sake. But I want to even extend the argument further. You see, the reason why we make laws, the reason why we created this constitution, because if the president is talking about due process and has been taken into consideration the context in which he said it, the opening up of the law house, the House for Justice. Now, and you, the president, you took an oath that you're going to protect the constitution. You understand?
Yeah.
Now, if what it means is that, and we all know that the purpose of the constitution is the protection of our lives and our liberty, and our liberties can best be done within the context of a constitutional democracy. So that if you, the president, you do anything to undermine that constitutional democracy, really what you are doing is to undermine our ability to get the maximum protection of our lives and our liberties. So that if you, the president, in how you appoint the electoral commissioner, you make it practically impossible for the electoral commissioner to fulfill its obligation. And what's that? And what's the obligation of the electoral commissioner. The obligation of the electoral commissioner is not just to deliver a free and fair election, but to deliver an election which is perceived to be free and fair. So when you in your appointment of the election, you don't have regard to the demand on you not to, as in the demand on you to choose somebody who is neutral or who will be perceived to be neutral. Then what essentially you are doing is to undermine the whole democracy and its purpose. And so for me, as in yesterday, I don't know how they see, but for me, the president has failed massively in his battle against corruption. And he shouldn't be using due process and his fidelity to due process.
Of which the first 6 years you were part of.
No, listen.
So let me bring Malik in.
But you keep on saying, this. In fact, there's an obligation even on all MPP members too. You understand? Including that period when I was there, because we are Ghanaians. You understand? And there's a reason why we form political parties and support political parties. That purpose is to create that Ghana where all of our liberties and freedoms, our right to pursue our own happiness can be fulfilled.
Absolutely.
So that if I'm coming,
I think for a lot of Ghanaians, they're more disappointed in the fact that, you know, Honorable Alan stayed that long because the issue started way before. And a lot of people expected that he would have spoken up about it. And if he really wanted to leave the party because of the ills within the party, he should have left that earlier. But let me let Malik come in. I'll let you come to that. I'll let you come to that. But Malik, I mean, of course, clearly you've heard from the president. He says that assertion that he's a clearing agent is absolutely wrong.
First of all, Bella, we don't feel happy calling Mr. Akuffo Addo the clearing agent. I personally don't feel happy. And if you ask me, I wouldn't feel happy naming at least somebody's father or my grandfather or our president, the clearing agent. We don't feel happy. But if your actions seek to suggest that you are indeed a clearing agent, you will be called a clearing agent. When AEC was speaking, he said a lot of the corruption allegations were mere perception. Fantastic. PDS. Your own minister, before truncating the contract, when it was exposed by the minority in parliament, said the documents that were presented, the insurance guarantee, was fraudulent. And that was how come PDS was truncated. The FTI consulting report pointed to Bawumia to being the person who chaired the meeting that first changed the condition precedent to condition subsequent and changed the bank guarantee to an insurance guarantee. And together on the table, they presented a fraudulent Carl Bank insurance guarantee. You should tell me which agency investigated the vice president after, because he was indicted in this. Ameri Innovation scandal. The president himself told us he was misled. Misled by who? And he was misled into signing and appending his signature. And in fact, it wasn't the president's signature that was appended on the Ameri scandal. It was Bawumia. Because at that time, President Akuffo Addo was out of the country. So the documents were taken to Bawumia, and he appended and granted executive approval. Bedia Tuo only communicated information to us, as though President Akuffo Addo had granted. But they said they were misled. Who misled them? Tell me which investigation had commenced in the Ameri Innovation scandal that sought to dupe the state, ballooning a contract from 510 million to over 1 billion. That was how they attempted stealing from us. He should tell me. COVID-19, the health minister went to parliament and virtually begged. And when he was asked why he bought drugs that were sold at $10 for $19, he said he wasn't thinking right. And the tension and pressure on him even made him not to bring the documents to parliament for parliamentary approval before he went to buy the drugs. What did Mr. Akuffo Addo do? He went to his hometown and said, Health Minister Abre, we are worrying him. A man who had caused huge financial loss to the state. For however reason they duped this country, Mr. Akuffo Addo had the effrontery to stand before his chief and said, Health Minister Abre, Galamsey appearance fee. Charles Dubois, a minister who had said, Bawumia, before you go and do Galamsey, you need to give Bawumia $250,000 before you even appear to talk to vice president. A man who knows nothing about Galamsey. Suddenly, Bawumia is now a kingpin. when the matter was referred to the special prosecutor, what came out of it? And the special prosecutor in his findings said, Baumia's corruption is so big that we need to pass the Corrupt Practices Act. In his report, who should institute that? The executive, to Parliament. Has Mr. Akuffo Addo bothered himself executing that? No. Nyantechi number 12. They said Mr. Akuffo Addo was in his pocket, and that before you get contracts, you need to give Akuffo Addo 3 million. And for Bawumia, when you give him $2 million, he will shake the head and they'll give you the contract. Bella, Nyantechi number 12, tell me how it ended. You and I were in this country.
He attempted to run for office.
Austria scandal.
Australian visa scandal.
They carried fake journalists. So they took a girl and said, this is Bella Mundi. Took her there. When they got there, they asked people where their recorders were. Some were removing precursor. They deported all those people back into this country. And Ghana was written in the international communities for being a fake country, for attempting to take fraudulent journalists to Austria. You know how it affected us? The next 2 years, the Commonwealth Games, they denied you journalists from going to report. That scandal, they said, was investigated. And Pius, my good friend, was involved in that. He was the one. They took the people there. Till date, the CID report hasn't been made public for you and I to know. Many scandals in this country. Why? National Cathedral. A pastor who says today he's called Kobna Edu Jemfi. Tomorrow he's called Victor Kusi Boafo. They paid over 58 million to him, all in the name of constructing a national cathedral. They abandoned the whole. When Okujato Ablakwa exposed the matter, have you heard Mr. Akuffo Addo taking an interest or even instituting any anti-corruption agency to investigate that matter? But you see, for me, that national cathedral will not only retrieve the funds, but will give all the corrupt people shovels to fetch sand and cover the hole they have dug there before we use it for whatever purpose we want to do with it.
That's a jest, right?
Yeah, no,
I'm actually serious that
I am swearing God to this, that we will not only retrieve the funds from the corrupt people involved in that hole.
You give them a
shovel.
We
will give them shovels to fetch sand and refill the hole they have dug there.
You're being serious about
this. I swear everything by my life. I'm saying this on record. COVID-19 funds.
We'll bring you back to this.
COVID-19
if you should.
They investigated that your government, were doling out monies and paying fake caterers. They went and built a house at Adakulu for over 14 million, abandoned it, wasted over 11 million, shared the monies to parliamentary candidates. Felicia Tete, Sanarugu parliamentary candidate, said she received the money, her chairman received the bounty, and they chopped funds that were meant to cure COVID in this country. Tell me if Mr. Akuffo Addo had instituted a report. Why? Is it not Mr. Akuffo Addo's own special prosecutor who said Mr. Akuffo Addo is the mother serpent of all corruption? You know what that means? A snake that now gives birth to corrupt snakes, and they steal and dupe this country. And that was what Mr. Akuffo Addo was. Did you hear anybody instituting an investigation in any of those?
But the president will say that
gold mafia,
in the fight for corruption, that's why they set up this, the office of the special prosecutor.
And the man he put in charge to fight corruption said the biggest corrupt entity, the corrupt snake of all corrupt snakes in this country was Mr. Akuffo Addo. He was the mother serpent of corruption in this country. That was what he told us. Why? Gold mafia, Alistair Matthias. Mr. Akuffo Addo wrote to your media house, and they wrote to Al Jazeera to retract a gold kingpin who said Mr. Akuffo Addo was his loving friend, and how they duped the state and transported gold and what have you. He boldly said and indicted our president. When they wrote to Al Jazeera to retract or else they will sue Al Jazeera, did you see any retraction? Have you seen any suit to that effect? Till date, nobody has sued them in that particular matter. We can go on and on. SkyTrain, they paid $2 million to a fake contractor. The Auditor General said even the contractor didn't have license to undertake a contract in that affair. Yet $2 million was paid to them. Have you seen any investigation in that particular matter? No. Balugu Multipurpose Dam. I was there myself. I wept when I looked at young children who are going to suffer in June, July, August, September as a result of the spillage of the Bagre Dam. And some of them may even lose their lives because on yearly basis, people lose their lives. Yet your government chopped over $12 million in that particular contract. Tell me a single investigation that was undertaken in that.
Malik, so when you come into power, or if you come into power, are you going to look at every single one of these scandals and prosecute?
President Mahama says, just as the development of this country is of high interest to him, so is the arrest, prosecution, and jailing of corrupt officials under this government. is important to him too. And you see, Bella, in all these scandals I am naming, I am putting them directly at the doorsteps of Mr. Akuffo Addo and Alhaji Bawumia. Not just appointees, not Cecilia Dapa. Have you seen me mention Cecilia Dapa? Because you have done that. And even though we know how they have siphoned funds and hidden dollars under their beds, I'm not mentioning them. I am mentioning Akuffo Addo and I am mentioning Bawumia because all these scandals circulate around them. Why? All Kisi Ejapon, Ejaben, the current special prosecutor, he held a press conference and said as a result of corruption stinking in this government, his soul has left him. And he's now Ankwanoma. Or the Nakra, I said, you are the Akan people, Abba for ye. Or his soul has left him because corruption is choking and stinking under Mr. Akuffo Addo and Bawumia. Yet, Mr. Akuffo Addo has the effrontery to mount a podium and say President Mahama is alleging. All these things I have listed. Have you seen me allege on any of them?
They said you haven't brought evidence. There's no evidence. The president says he's forwarded it to the independent institutions. There's no evidence because if there is, then of course these people would have been found guilty.
Which evidence is bigger than the minister himself saying PBS documents were fraudulent? Which evidence is bigger than that? Tell me. Which evidence is bigger than Mr. Akuffo Addo himself lying to us that he was misled and Bawumia signed a fake contract document, the American Innovation? Which evidence is bigger than that? No, even if 2 excavators get missing, you and I can conclude that, look, we haven't seen it. 500 got missing in this country. The chairman of the Interministerial Committee said they sold them like granules in this country. Has Mr. Akuffo Addo put any interest in it? No. Akuffo Addo's backyard was even being mined, and people entered, it broke his wall, and they were dredging and mining gold in his backyard. Have you seen any investigation in that?
They said that, that wasn't true,
Bella,
by the way.
All I will say is that, look, they can continue tickling themselves, laughing, think that they will be in power, and so nobody will have the effrontery to investigate them. But I sit on this platform to say that the last man to steal money under this government will be the last man to return the monies. We will not sit down and allow people struggle. We don't have schools, we don't have water, we don't have hospitals, we don't have roads, and yet on a daily basis, you people sit there, you siphon funds, Mr. Akuffo Addo, Bawumia and his entourage.
Mali,
you dupe the state, and you think we'll leave you off the hook. I swear by everything that President Mahama...
You've sworn about 4 times already on this platform.
Because it's hurting me.
So
I'm hurt
Ghanaians should vote, if Ghanaians should vote for the NDC and they come into power and they don't prosecute any of these, you know, scandals...
I will resign from politics.
Or investigate these allegations.
If we come into power and we don't investigate and arrest the corrupt officials, I sit here on TV3, I'm Malik Basentale, I'll resign from politics. I'll give up on party politics.
It's the 11th of June. We'll keep this,
you can't steal money from this country this way and expect to go
Okay, no problem. Ghanaians will hold you accountable to that. But George, I mean, you're asking for evidence. Yes. Of course, the president is also saying that there has to be evidence. You cannot just make allegations. Now, in these cases where, again, for example, the health minister, and everybody watched him on TV where he admitted that he wasn't thinking straight in that vaccine procurement deal, which is why we lost so much money. What evidence again do you need?
So much money.
What evidence again do you need?
Look, we were in contingent times. Before I proceed, let me say happy birthday to my college teacher, Mrs. Betty Ejakodanso.
Mali, what's the problem? Can't he say good morning or wish? He wants to wish someone a happy birthday. Allow him.
No, that's his time.
You see.
Carry on, George.
It's unfortunate, you get it. But let's go. Can you repeat your question?
I was asking that if you're asking for evidence, what other evidence do you need if a minister, a whole minister of health, says and admits on TV that he wasn't thinking right when the vaccine procurement deal was being handled, which is why they paid that much money. In fact, it was what, about 10 Ghana cedis and they paid 19 cedis.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. People made the argument. The minister,
it wasn't?
No, the minister did say that if you have a place where they sell it at $10, come, Ghana will go with you. Okay? Look, at the time Israel was buying, just check it, $23. Okay? Per vaccine. What are we talking about? Okay? It was a contingent moment.
But he says he wasn't thinking straight.
It was a contingent moment, and he wanted the safety of his people. Okay? And he took those decisions. And there are some decisions, there's a lawyer here, which you take, and then you go and report on. Okay? And so he took contingent decisions and he came to Parliament. He was asked about it and he was honest with the process he went through. Okay? And they engaged a middleman. People were saying we could have done country to country, Russia, and gotten it. He said, no, we went severally. The president spoke with the prime minister and president of Russia, and they said, yes, they will consider us. You would have waited, because countries had paid money in the research processes that when you got the vaccine, we were going to be the first preferential countries. Those were factual. Okay? And so please, let's not say, we pose the question that if you know anywhere you can get it $10, we are ready to go buy it.
But we lost money. And the fact that the president,
no, we didn't lose money.
No,
the president.
Even at an event with chiefs was even mocking the whole situation.
No, he didn't mock.
What did he say?
He said, your son is, Kwaku, there's trouble or so, and everybody is mentioning his name and co because of these.
And they laughed about that. Yes. They laughed.
Yeah, it didn't
George,
mean.
at a time when,
it didn't mean. Yeah, it was a factual that he was being held
but this
everywhere.
is when he had just admitted that he wasn't thinking straight, and many were calling for the minister to resign at that point. So you go out with the minister, and then you laugh about the situation.
But if there's issue about you and people are talking about it, what's wrong with the president saying this? What has happened?
And laughing about
and Parliament had engaged him. Okay, had engaged him, so they didn't stop that. If there's any corrupt deed, he wasn't going to be investigated or nothing like that happened. Okay, so please, let's allow due process. That's what the president said. Everybody must have his day in court. Once you are accused, okay, go there. You'll be able to either defend yourself or, you'll be convicted.
So in the health minister's case like this,
yes,
was there any further investigation beyond
there are citizens. Yes, the president said we should be citizens.
Nothing ever happened beyond him admitting.
No. If no citizen has any right, if you feel the thing has not been properly done, you have the right to pursue the matter. Okay?
You
have the right to pursue it because he appeared before Parliament. And Parliament did what they did. Did Parliament continue with the matter? So please, that's the issue. If there is substance in it and Parliament is convinced that he did something wrong, criminal, they would have proceeded with it.
CSOs called for him to
once
resign.
you call it, people can call for people to resign. People have called, the chairman of the NDC has called for the Attorney General, that brilliant chap, to resign. What are we talking about? So people can call for people to resign. People were involved in Airbus scandal. People were involved in Ford saga, Amajaro's saga as vice president and co. What's happening? That person still is seeking to become president of this country. Okay? A PDS, yes. There was a fraud in it which involved the people misrepresenting themselves. That is the fraud that was captured in the PDS matter. I don't know about what other things my brother is talking about. There was a misrepresentation of the agent, okay, of the PDS engagement and co. That is the fraud. And government said no. Even the American government said we should continue with the Millennium Challenge engagement. We said no, because we cannot trust the partners we are dealing with. So what are we talking about? We're protecting the interest of the Ghanaian. That's the priority of the president, and that's exactly what he did. So please, I want to ask my brother lawyer. He was part of us, okay, for 7 years. He should tell me how many people he was able to get into the security services.
0.
So why are you sitting here? That the lies by the minority leader, that each MP is given 30 slots. Do you know what 30 slots translates into?
But is it not true that politicians have interfered even with the security agencies where they've even pushed their people in there? Is it not true?
Well, if you have the evidence, you are there.
So it's not true?
No, people make overtures and moves to help support people.
George?
I have not been able to succeed to get anybody there. So I just asked him, have you been able to put anybody in?
And you don't know any party member who's been able to get in there based on...
I've heard Kennedy Japan and Asamoah Boateng say on national television, radio, that they've been able to put people in there. Okay? And I've heard other people on the other side that they've helped people go in there. And MPs make that strenuous effort.
Yeah, but
if you're a member of Parliament, you should be able to move together. No, but they'll go to, under arrest. We put everything online. Go in there, put in your details, and we go the digitalization process.
Okay? But people have said that politicians were constantly interfering and pushing their people in there.
Yes.
So it is a fact that politicians have always interfered and gotten their people into these security agencies.
Well, they have.
I mean,
I know for a fact they have lobbied. They have lobbied for that.
But should
I
that
don't know
even be
whether
the case?
interference. I don't know whether that's interference. And then too, you are saying that people can manipulate Dampari, Dr. Akuffo Dampari, the IGP. I disagree with you, lawyer. That one, I disagree.
It's not possible.
Dampari? I don't know that remote go do this and he will do it. No. We, even our own people, think he's working against us. True of us. No, so we allow the man to do his professional work. Okay. So that's very much. And the last one I want to touch on is the Rock City Estate. The processes have been gone through. Unless, of course, elsewhere, people in industry and the business environment are pushed by governments to come and work for government. Okay? It doesn't mean their businesses must collapse.
Nobody's saying their business will collapse.
Please.
But it
there was
also
an international bidding process.
George, it doesn't also
How was he interfering? Is he the Minister of Finance?
No, he's the Minister of Agri.
Yes.
He's a cabinet minister.
He's a businessman.
And you're saying that it's okay that a cabinet minister is able to acquire properties belonging to the state?
International floating, bidding, and he's gone through the... In fact, let me tell you.
But he shouldn't
let me tell you something. There were three
Why?
slots. The first slot, he bidded with others. The second and third slots, no other hotel was interested in them. His hotel was the only hotel interested in the second and the third slot.
And
these are
the question that we're asking.
The third slot, we are talking about. Let me give you the.
Are we saying, for example, that the Rock City Hotel is getting more profits than Labadi Hotel?
I'm coming.
Good question.
Labadi and La Palm, they were the first lots. The second lots were Ridge Royal
George,
and Almina Beach. Okay?
understand.
No hotel was interested in
Rock
that.
City has been operating
and
for
then
what?
Bourgeois,
Just about 5 years. That's against Labadi Beach Hotel that's been
Yes.
operating for many years, probably even before I was born.
They need injection
Now,
of capital
are we saying,
and
hold on,
strategic management.
and Rock City is making more profits than Labadi Beach Hotel? Is that what we are saying?
No, I've not gone through the records of Rock City, but I do know that Rock City is projecting to have about 2,000 rooms.
Hold on.
We are talking 200 rooms and less rooms.
No. We're not talking about rooms.
No.
So you haven't even, hold on. You haven't even gone into the documents of Rock City to know if they are posting losses or gains.
No, they
George,
10 million higher than the competition.
Can I make my statement? Can I ask you a question? So you have not gone into the documents to know if Rock City is posting gains or losses higher than Labadi Beach Hotel. Labadi Beach Hotel, we've gotten their figures as to how much profits they've been recording in the last 4 years. And you are telling us that Rock City is probably making more money than Labadi Beach Hotel? Is that what you're saying?
So
which is why it's okay for them to bid?
If they were not, would the transaction advisors have considered them? If they were not in good financial standing, considered them and trusted them to make that investment. In fact, they made $10 million more than their competitors. Okay? What they wanted. That's factual. So if they were not in good footing, how would they be able to be bidding more than their competitors?
Don't worry.
And in the lot 2 and lot 3, they were the only hotel that bidded for that.
Counsel,
these are facts.
Counsel,
so let's be close with the facts and then be making the arguments cogent.
And Director, if you don't mind, please dash me some more time so we can go into the second topic. Thank you.
You see, the argument my brother here is making, the fact that, and forgive me to use that word, you have the audacity to try and justify what for me represents a massive break in the public trust that was placed on Brian.
How?
Because when you're a public officer, when you're a minister, the issue isn't even about whether your company has more value or whether you can afford it. You shouldn't. You are barred from even attempting to purchase public property. As in, and see, the reason why the members of the MPP are struggling to understand that public trust.
It quotes the laws. I'll be happy if you do that for all of us.
Listen, Aristotle said that law is reasoning, free from passion. You understand? And when you go across the world, the obligation that's placed on you is not just what is in the black and white, as in black and white in the Constitution. Because beyond the fact that in our Constitution, as a minister or as a public officer, you are not supposed to place yourself in a conflict of interest position. Generally, reasoning will tell you that for you to fulfill the purpose of governance, then you, the public officer, you shouldn't place yourself in a position, or you should recognize that a special trust has been placed on you. And we know that one of the fundamental tenets of
coming to
savage what? A public trust has been placed on you, which bars you from putting yourself in a position where you make economic gain from that public trust. And the fact that they are not recognizing that should tell all Ghanaians about the massive or fundamental breakdown in value and respect of the new patriotic party. Wow. Yes, a fundamental breakdown in their regard to value and principle. The fact that they are not seeing why, because of the public trust that is placed on him, he should even put himself in that position. And Bella, is that breakdown of value the fact that in the way the MPP had become, they didn't care how they got power. They were ready to beat up people, to mean people. You understand? As in, they were ready to breach one of the cornerstones of liberal democracy, being that those who are governed can only do so with the consent of those they govern, and that consent will be violated when you buy votes, like happened in Joshua. Then did not say anything wrong with an MP, a professor for that matter, giving money to EC officials. For there were allegations that they were sharing weed. They were sharing weed to the people of Reduso to vote for them. You understand? Is this fundamental breakdown? You recall the extent to which Alan's, what's it called, agent was beaten up. His eyes almost closed. You understand? It's all these breakdown and a realization that the party has departed massively from the values, from the reasons why we joined in the first place, that caused Alan to leave. So for me, it shouldn't matter that he took long. Probably he took long because he had a hope, a belief that the party could be rescued. You understand? Yeah. From the depth to which they were falling. But at some point in time, you give up, and we all give up, and that's why we thought that for the good of Ghana, for the end of Ghana, because a certain political culture is being created in this country, where people seem to accept public officers doing what Brian has done. People seem to have, and for me, that's a worry. You see what happened to the NDC PC on Saturday. He's talking about Dampare, but where in the law, in a country where we are governed by a law that says that you are innocent until proven guilty. Where we are in a country where our clear commitment, and indeed one of the vows the president took was to protect the purpose of our constitution. Somebody's liberties can be taken away only because one L was missing from her name and one O was missing from her.
But even that later they came back and said, that wasn't even the case.
You see,
the NDC, I mean, not the police.
Now beyond that, Hobson Adoye's liberties were taken from him when he had not even been charged officially. Hobson Adoye's, and the NPP MPs, when they were having their primaries, went around the country promising the NPP members that they were going to give them slots into our security agencies. I don't know if, George, you are telling that you didn't hear your candidates going around the country promising their members that when we come, we'll give you slots. So I'm saying that we should not be hoodwinked by the president's a claim of fidelity to due process.
Okay.
Yeah. We shouldn't be hoodwinked by it, because see, when you sit down and allow institutions to break down, institutions that are meant to protect the purpose of our constitution, like the security forces, like the EC. When you sit down and you do nothing, when you watch your ministers, people who are using powers at your pleasure, your powers, use those powers in a manner that's adverse to the purpose for which those powers are granted. When in how procurements are done in this country, due process isn't followed. You understand? Then you cannot stand anywhere and tout your commitment to the fight of corruption. And we say that that's the cornerstone of your governance. You understand? Because the fight against corruption isn't just what's called a fight or a strategy after the corruption has been perpetuated. In fact, a better fight would be to strengthen and entrench the institutions that would even prevent corruption from happening.
All right.
No, you are.
Well, George, Omar Farouk said I should ask you why you are not relaxing in your submissions. You know, you are wrapping us too much. Okay, but before Malik comes in, no, George, no. Before Malik comes in, we'll move on to the other topic, but let Malik also have his word. But this is COP Kofi Boakye before his retirement, when he had made a statement indicating that politicians from all sides sort of interfere, you know, with recruitment. Take a look.
Men, I mean policemen. A few policemen caught in robberies, selling weapons to, you know, thieves and so on. The general speculation that this has got something to do with recruitment. Is that true?
I think it's true. It's true. Because of, you see, I would say, some sort of politically motivated recruitment. And this one, I will not say is this party or that party, but let's put it politically motivated. They all of them across everybody.
Yeah.
Because, for instance, if you say that you are MP and you can recruit 300 policemen, or another MP can also recruit 200, and it's something that I think, in the long run, it will have a devastating effect on our security if we don't allow the recruitment to be based on meritocracy, but based on nepotism, patronage, favoritism, party political activity. Then, and one thing I always tell people is that whenever you are in government or you are in opposition, and the policeman comes to you and says,
That's a COP retired Kofi Boakye, and he was indicating that, in fact, all the politicians and all the parties are involved in, you know, recruitment when it comes to getting people into the security agencies. Malik.
Bella, you see, when we speak about the fight against corruption, you first demonstrate it by prosecuting your own people. That is how people have confidence in your acts and your actions as a government. When President Mahama was in power, and sometimes I feel sad for Victoria Hammer, a woman, a minister who sat somewhere and said, if I get $1 million, I'll resign from politics. If I get mere thought, mere perception, as to whether she will ever get, nobody can tell. What did President Mahama do to her? She was fired. So if a president even has allegations over him and people accuse him of doing something, what are you supposed to do as a president or a vice president? You subject yourself to investigation. I tell you today that if Alhaji Bawumia subjects himself to 1 minute of investigation, you will see the sort of things that will be unraveled. Why? Somebody's 10,000 bags of salad rice got missing at the port. It was traced and linked to Bawumia's office. Bawumia said he knew nothing about it. It was Kekose. When they traced the rice, they found the rices in houses of malams and imams, which meant that it was shared as salad rice. What is the business of Kekose to salad rice? In the whole of Bawumia's office, aside Akbar, it is only Bawumia who shares salad rice. Yet Bawumia says he wasn't the one. The matter was left. And everybody could trace that it was Bawumia who had an interest in that lily rice that got missing. Nobody did anything about it. Lots of other cases under this government and linked directly to the president and vice president. Nobody has done anything. Why? We speak about family and friends. And I want to come into this Rock City matter. Look, when we say public officials shouldn't engage in buying properties that have even been bidded, put across for sale, we are stopping what we call conflict of interest. Me, I can get up as a minister, put my facilities for sale. My colleague minister will buy. He will also put his facilities for sale. I'll also go and buy. And then we say, okay, they put it out for public bidding. And that was how come I bid it. There is a clause of conflict of interest. And that is what leads to family and friends. Bawumia's sister, let me cite an example. Laraba, she was the CEO for the Northern Development Authority in Tamale. 400 Abobo years got missing under her tenure. Just because she was Bawumia's sister, Mr. Akuffo Addo clapped for her and said, you are learning fast. Rather promoted her and made her the Minister for Gender in Accra. And those 400 Abobo years haven't been accounted for, which means that all those things have gone down the drain. That is the cause of family and friends. In this Rock City saga, Your own hotel, Rock City, for 3 consecutive years have run at a loss. 2021, 2022, 2023, losses. The hotels you are coming to buy have been making profits for more than 5 years in a row. 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, they have made profits. Yet you, the one who is running at a loss, now says that I'm coming to buy the hotels that are running at profit, okay, and turn them to mine. And you, the one doing that, is a minister buying the hotels from a colleague minister. If this is not broad daylight, thievery, and I'm happy that the TUC had to stand for the interest of this country. And together with our minority ranking on foreign affairs, Samuel Okujato, they fought and all those things have been turned out. But you see, George will not have a problem with family and friends. I say this because, for example, his wife was a minister. He too was an appointee at NADMO.
Did she not deserve that position, though?
So I'm coming to link family and friends as to what it does to the country.
Okay.
When sharing the national cake, his bedroom had 2. His wife was a minister. He too was an appointee. So they had deprived many other qualified people in other households who deserved to have gotten their share of the family of the cake. And in an event that anything goes wrong in all these ministries, they seek to protect themselves. And that is what the vice president and his sister Laraba had done. And that is why he sees nothing wrong with what happened in the Rock City saga. But you see, we will pursue that matter. We will not allow it go down the drains, like I have said. We will continue to unravel and expose all these corrupt and fraudulent things in this matter. And the chop under this, you see, you think that I am bluffing today, and you think so. You blabbing. You think so because today I am not in power. The best I can do is to initiate what President Akuffo Addo will kill. Because anything that's got to do with corruption, he won't allow it because he himself has a history of corruption. His vice president has a history of corruption. But you see, the day of reckoning will come.
Yes.
When that day comes, you, your other colleagues, the president, the vice president, will account to the people of this country.
Interesting. Okay.
That all that goes down the drains. And so, if you want, I have not landed, please, can you allow me?
Land for me.
So, if you want, you can sit here and continue laughing today. No problem. But all these corrupt practices I have enumerated, all these corrupt practices that have caused pain to the Ghanaian people, that have deprived us of basic amenities, we will recoup them and would ensure that all these things are going to be done under your government.
All right.
But it is done.
Let's move on. Malika, are you saying that under the Mahama government there was no family member that was appointed?
I have illustrated to you.
Okay.
I have illustrated to you that the president himself has appointed his daughter onto the creative house.
No, I'm asking you that. Are you saying that in the Eswa Mahama government, hold on, there was no family member that was also appointed?
I want to give you what these people are doing.
Because I don't have time. I just want a yes or no.
That Baumia,
forget about that. You've made that statement. Are you saying in the Eswa Mahama government there was no family member that was ever appointed?
Was any family member indicted for wrongdoing?
Is it about being indicted?
President Mahama himself has said.
Is it about being indicted?
President Mahama himself has said. That after appointing more than 5,000 people, the only one, I'm coming.
Is it about being indicted?
The only one, hold on. Yes, because Larabad made us lose 400 missing excavators.
Okay, so there's nothing wrong in appointing a family member. Hold on.
Oh, are you trying to defend your
No, I'm not defending anybody. I'm doing my job here objectively. Are you saying that it's okay to appoint a family member as long as they are not involved in any scandal? Is that what you're saying?
It is not okay to appoint family and friends in government.
So would you say that under the Eswa Mahama government, you never appointed, and when I say you, I don't mean you in particular, but there was no family member that was appointed ever?
Under the entire 5,000 people that were appointed, the only one who can even be linked to President Mahama's family is Joyce Bauer. That's all right.
Okay,
the only one.
So we have to move on. Let's just talk about this quickly.
You also got appointment.
Let's just move on to our next topic. We don't have much time. I'll give you all just about a minute to speak on this, and then we can move on. So we're moving over now to the Ghana Armed Forces, and they've released an issue warning over calls of attacks on military personnel. And this is on the back of a statement that was made by the parliamentary candidates for Amenfi is Ernest Frimpong. He's an MPP parliamentary candidate, where he said that, you know, he was charging, based on what he said in the video, he was charging, you know, the people in his community to fight the military or security personnel if they come in to do rounds concerning Galamsey. Well, he's refuted those claims. He says that that's not what he meant. It was taken out of context. In fact, he has retracted that statement. But the Ghana Armed Forces has released a statement, and they did not refer to him in particular, but they just made a general statement that it is wrong for you to even incite the general public, you know, to fight the military. Mr. Isi, I mean, just 1 minute on this so we can wrap up.
I think it's good the Ghana Armed Forces have made that release, to be honest with you. It's good they've done that. And I'm happy the parliamentary candidate is also retracted. I heard him say illegal security service officers and co who come there. They are there not on official duty and co. But be it as it may, it's wrong to attack any security. I'm a bars boy, and I know if you go and do that, the consequence. They said it in the statement. The consequences are dire for the nation. We don't have to do that, especially minors. If they are doing something which is wrong, there's the NewSec and the RecSec and the DISEC. You can go and report that these people have been coming to worry you because you are legal miners, small-scale miners, who have a legitimate concession. But the army keep coming or the police keep coming to disturb you. You had some 500, 200 to be given and all that. It's even not appropriate. You get it? But those things happen. People go there, okay, who are not on official duty to go and then extort money. It happens. I have had calls. People call me and say, George, your people are here. They are disturbing us. You people have given us legitimate license and co. And that thing is also affecting the community mining and co. Because those people don't have even money to, you know, give out for those things. And most of these people, they rent the machines that they use. Okay? And so sometimes they go and they will stop them for like 3 hours. Okay, so our PC, I'm happy he's retracted that.
But he said this in the presence of the regional minister.
Yes, so, and Bella, that's good. We didn't get the tape of the comments of the regional minister, who happens to be the RecSec chairman, okay? If we had gotten his tape after this one, maybe he made a comment, but people thought maybe it's right, so we won't spread that. Okay, if we had, because I know him, he's a good friend, Honorable Kwabena Dakon, very, very nice person. So I believe he would have made a comment relative to that.
Council, you have 1 minute on this.
Well, as in a very short time, but just to say that it's a shame that for a battle as important as Galamsey, a battle that the president anchored the success or not of his presidency on.
And got his mandate renewed.
And failed fantastically, I understand. Just based on a lack of commitment, you understand? And this lack of commitment and disregard for that mandate is permeating in his officers and members of his of his party. Because if there's one thing that that's clear, the reason why we have not been able to win this battle against Galamsey is because of partisanship, because of partisan consideration. Politicians will always use promises to undermine efforts of government, and in this case, government itself, just because of power.
Time is
and so for me, I just want to say that the statement made yesterday, I know focus is on the armed forces, but everything being made, the attempt to cause chaos in this country
is wrong.
Is symptomatic of the lack of leadership that the president himself has granted us.
Malik.
Bella, you see, you cannot deliberately act hypocritical because you see an upcoming election on its way and think that the people will just believe whatever you come there to tell them. All in the name of politics. Who took the soldiers to those lands? There was a time in this country where your government, also the deputy, presidency, were engaged in these Galamsey actions. And today you now go to the people and say, when the soldiers come, beat them.
He said he's retracted, he was referring to the men who were and not part of it. Anyway, we have to wrap up on this point. But George, aside your statements, your watch also seems to be getting a lot of fans on social media. They say your watch is very big, and that shows that you are living a very good life. Anyway, George AEC is the Director of Communications for NADMO. He's also a member of the NPP Communications team. Andrew Appiah Dankwa Esquire is a member of Movement for Change Communications team. He's also a private legal practitioner. Malik Basintali is the Deputy Communications Officer for the NDC. I see. Is there going to be any announcement?
DMB. Don't worry.
Is he announcing his running mate today?
I said watch out for him.
Is he announcing running mate today?
Bella, don't
When
jump.
is he announcing running mate?
Jump.
Cocoa milk is 100% plant-based milk, and it's mainly for your breakfast, quick snack, and to quench your late-night hunger. Cocoa milk is lactose-free, dairy-free, soya-free, GMO-free, and cholesterol-free, and it is 100% vegan, thus guaranteed plant fiber, plant protein, plant fat, and it is low in calories. Cocoa milk is enriched with 14 key vitamins and minerals such as zinc, iron, calcium, potassium, magnesium, vitamin C, E, and more, which boosts your daily immune system. Cocoa milk comes in 5 variants. So we have cocoa unsweetened, cocoa original, cocoa barista, oh wow, okay, cocoa super, and cocoa kids. Cocoa milk is a creamy and delicious option for your tea, coffee, cereals, smoothies, or drink. Or you can drink it straight from the glass. It is approved by the FDA, Ghana, and Vegan Society UK, and is available in NS Chemist, East Cantonment Pharmacy, Bedita Pharmacy, Tina Priority Tema Committee 4, Little George Tema Committee 2, Opoku Trade in Edum Kumasi, Opoku Adom Square, opposite Nsawan Prison, Malcolm Shops, and all supermarkets. If you want to make enquiries, call these numbers 027 4440180. Again, 027 4440180. And happy Father's Day to you in advance, gentlemen. We wish you a happy Father's Day, and to all our viewers as well. We'll be talking about Father's Day and what you can do to ensure that you keep your father's environment clean. It's a way of, appreciating him during Father's Day as well. Oh, I'm so sorry about that. I'm so sorry, my condolences. We'll be back with more. Keep watching.